Countdown is proceeding without any technical problems, and our activities are on schedule. Final inspection team continuing their activities, which have gone well with no reported problems. And here we are in the crew dining room, where we see the STS-87 mission emblem cake. Mission specialist Winston Scott will be doing the EVA on this flight. Mission specialist Takao Doi also will be doing an EVA on this mission. Our commander Kevin Kriegel for the STS-87 flight. Our payload specialist Leonid Kadynyuk from the Ukraine. Mission specialist Kolpna Chawla, who will be operating the RMS for the Spartan deployment. And finally, our pilot Steve Lindsay, who will be working the Sprint camera during the mission, among other things. We are in the suit-up room with our STS-87 astronauts, looking at our commander, Kevin Kriegel. And here is pilot Steve Lindsay. He'll be operating from the flight deck the small basketball-sized camera. And mission specialist Kolpna Chawla, who will operate the remote manipulator system and deploy and retrieve the Spartan payload. Mission specialist Takao Doi, who will be participating in the EVA on this mission along with Winston Scott. And next to him here is Winston Scott, who will be also doing the EVA during the flight, along with Takao Doi. And our payload specialist, Leonid Kadynyuk from the Ukraine, who will be investigating plant growth biology in space. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 2 hours, 56 minutes, 55 seconds and counting, where we see the STS-87 astronauts now are entering the elevator for the ride down 2 floors from the astronaut quarters to the astronaut van, which will transport them the approximately 7-mile distance out to launch pad 39B, a ride which will take approximately 20 minutes or so. And we see some KSC employees behind the chain. The Astrovan now approaching the pad perimeter, where they'll then leave the van and go up the elevator to the orbiter access arm and meet the closeout crew ready to assist them in boarding Columbia and into their seats. And here we see our commander Kevin Kriegel preparing to board Columbia. And there, Takao Doi is the mission specialist who will be boarding next here very shortly, as soon as Kevin Kriegel boards the orbiter.
Well, this is actually a view from the flight deck, and now he's climbing up into the commander's seat. Keep in mind that everything is in the vertical here. He's getting assistance from another astronaut, astronaut Joe Tanner. Right now he's just positioning himself in the seat. It's very important that they get in the seat straight. They've got some emergency oxygen bottles strapped to their back on the harness, and then they'll be laying on top of the parachute. And they could be in there for upwards of 3+ hours today. And it's very important that he's in a position where nothing is in his back. And there'll be 2 people working on him. There's several connections. Here you see Takao Doi getting into the middeck, and what we try and do here is strap one person at a time in both the flight deck and middeck. So this Takao is MS3, and he'll be assisted by another strap-in personnel on the middeck. Now once Kevin is strapped in and has his cooling and oxygen hooked up, they'll begin to put on his helmet. And that cord there will be hooked up for his communications. Following his strap-in, they'll do some communications checks just to make sure that everything's in line before they move on to the next crew member. Here's a shot of Leonid in the white room. Looks like he's got his harness on, and he'll be waiting to be the second person on the middeck. There's the pilot, Steve Lindsay, climbing into the flight deck. He'll ask Steve to reach up and grab 2 handholds, and this particular maneuver here is very similar to just doing a pull-up. He's pulling himself up into the seat, getting his feet in position. Joe, you see, is holding on to his emergency oxygen bottles to keep them on each side of the parachute, and then they'll begin the process all over again of getting Steve positioned correctly on the parachute for comfort. Here's a great shot of Leonid. He's in the seat now, the second crew member on the middeck. They'll be hooking up his cooling at this time. This is our first flight of a Ukrainian on the shuttle.
TLS, what is it?
TLS, go.
Yeah, 534, pick up by the clock.
Okay, TLS copies, and we need a CMTC on channel 162, and we need to read step 535 on the OIS.
NTD, MS1, com check.
MS1, this is NTD. Good morning, I've got you loud and clear, KC.
Good morning, Doug. I also have you loud and clear.
Attention all stations, this is the NTD performing a launch status check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. Say go, no go. OTC. Go. TBC. Tank and boosters or go. TTC. Go. LPS. Go. Houston flight.
Houston flights go.
Mila. Mila's go. SCM. SCM go. Safety console. Safety console go. SPE. SPE's go. LRD. LRD's go. SRO. SRO's go. You have a range clear to launch. And CDR.
Columbia's a go.
And I copy all. Launch director NTD. Launch team is ready to proceed. Copy that. I'll do a poll. Payload director.
Payload's a go.
Engineering director. Engineering's go. Safety and mission assurance. Safety and mission assurance is go. Range weather. Roger, sure. No constraints launch. Copy that. Ops manager. MMT is go for launch. Copy that. And Columbia looks like we're ready to go. So we're going to proceed. NTD, you're clear to launch. And have a great mission.
TLS is go for orbital access arm retract.
Columbia, OTC, close and lock your visors, initiate O2 flow, have an international Thanksgiving, and may the roll go your way.
Thank you very much.
20,
Firing his chain is now armed.
15, 10,
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Engine start. 5, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia on a mission combining science and the practical aspects of space.
Roll program, Houston.
Roger, roll, Columbia.
Houston now controlling. Roll maneuver complete. Columbia now in a heads down wings level position, headed to a 150 nautical mile orbit, inclined 20.5 degrees to either side of the equator. Three engines on board Columbia now throttling back to 67% of rated thrust as the orbiter passes through the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure in the lower part of Earth's atmosphere. Three engines now ramping back up to 104%.
Columbia, go at throttle up.
Columbia's three liquid fuel engines are now back at full throttle, 104% of rated thrust. Altitude now 11 miles, downrange distance 8 miles. One minute 30 seconds into flight, with more than 2.25 million pounds of propellant having already been consumed, Columbia now weighs half of what it did at liftoff. Standing by for the next major event, which will be the burnout and separation of the twin solid rocket boosters. That coming up in a little more than 2 minutes into the flight. Altitude now 20 miles, downrange distance to KSC 19 miles. Booster officer confirms good separation of the solid rocket boosters.
Columbia, performance is nominal.
Nominal performance.
Commander Kevin Kriegel now rolling a videotape shot from a camera mounted on the forward flight deck of Columbia, looking back aft. On the right side is Commander Kriegel, left side Steve Lindsay in the foreground, flight engineer Winston Scott directly in the middle behind them, and to his right, mission specialist Kalpana Chawla. This video of the launch, there's main engine start and liftoff.
Columbia, the Middeck Glovebox.
Go ahead.
Takao is finishing that up. And Al, you can probably tell by the lights that was the roll to heads up.
Thanks, Kevin. We were kind of looking for that. We saw it.
It was really pretty smooth.